Now, this I'm so excited for. I just so happened to roll a natural 20 on my luck in life. I am a proud trans veteran. Let me put my pants on my head real quick. Hello and welcome. Today I want to share with you something that it's a strange situation to be in, having a technocrat kind of delete information out of records. And I got a little worried because a lot of my sort of history with the Navy was identified with markers like that. And when I went to look up the nav admin that actually had led to me seeking out care, I had learned it was hidden for further review. And so I just want to kind of discuss how I responded to that email, or not email, but that instruction, and how I changed what I feel was the course of how Navy transgender people are treated. So I will show on screen the instructions, but for this episode, will only be reading the email because, again, this is something sensitive to me, but I want to document it. I mean, I think it's something really cool. I feel like I made a difference by shouting into this void and sending this email after I had been removed from the Navy. I was removed on March 3rd of 2023, and April 27th of 2023, I sent this email. Good afternoon, MCPON. Bottom line up front, the Navy's approach to transgender care falls short in critical areas during execution, resulting in mistreatment or excessively delayed medical treatment for transgender individuals. These issues can be resolved by allowing transgender individuals to change their pronouns independent of their dearest gender marker, implementing training to meet situational awareness standards regarding the transgender care as applicable, and applying a preliminary gender transition plan in circumstances where transgender people cannot start medical treatment due to local guidance, so treatment upon arrival at their next location can be expedited. So, in this section, we're going to talk about the pronoun usage for individuals during transition. I'm going to take a deep breath and calm down. Again, when we talk about memories, a lot of times we think of a moment, and for me, I think these memories represent a little bit more than a moment. It's almost like an entire chapter in my life that sort of closed out the idea that I could serve in the Navy, which when I was in the Navy, looked forward to. And you know, I've always been someone who likes talking. I think you might be able to tell that from these videos. Before I joined the Navy, I was working a job as a janitor, and while I was working as a janitor, I got called for jury duty, and I was serving jury duty, waking up normal hours instead of nights like I had been sort of on a regimen to do. And one day I was listening to a morning radio show pulling up to the courthouse, and they said, you know, being a janitor is one of the worst jobs in the world. If we have anyone listening right now who's a janitor, go ahead and call in. And it touched this little part inside of me that always dreamed of being on the radio. And I thought for a moment, you know, this is my chance. So I called in and I got to be on there and talk about being a janitor. And of course, I'm fucking Chloe Nolan, so I love being a janitor. I had a blast. It was a great time. I got to go meet some really nice people, and the places were really cool. But that's not to say that it's a glamorous position or that the sort of standards of work aren't tedious. Anyway, being on the radio sort of inspired me, though, just even as a call-in. And so later on, there would be things that are wrong in instructions for fall protection. It's mentioned in one of my evals that I rewrote an instruction that had fallen out of date several years. So when I was composing this email, it comes from a place of, I know that we have rules in place, but I also have a voice of a very tiny screw that fell through every cog in the machine and somehow landed on the outside of the Navy, and I still wanted to make a difference. I wanted things to be better for the people in. In March of 2022, 2, I want to say, I was in a briefing with my CEO and my command master chief. We had these round tables where we would talk about the sort of social issues we face, and we were in Bahrain. So of course there's like the standard racist stuff that occurs in the military. There's also the sexist stuff that occurs in the military. But I brought up my pronouns, and the master chief that was in the room said, well, the instruction says you have to go by this pronoun. And I said, with all due respect, Master Chief, I don't care what the instruction says. If it's you and me in a room, you will use my pronouns. And if you don't use my pronouns, I will correct you. It doesn't matter what uniform I wear or what the rules say. Unless it's written down, what's it matter? We're just here talking. Who's enforcing that rule? Anyway. That was just a little bit of preamble for pronoun usage for individuals during transition. The current guidance, Department of Defense Instruction 1300.28, encompassing in-service transition, identifies an individual as transgender upon receipt of a gender dysphoria diagnosis from in military medical provider, stating gender transition is medically necessary. The pronouns section of the Interim Navy Guidance, Nav Admin 11221, correctly identifies that misuse of a transgender person's pronoun is a form of harassment, but also says that natal pronouns are to be used for those who have not yet changed their gender marker. This empowers people targeting those early in transition to continuously misgender individuals. During the process of transitioning, there are 3 pillars that contribute to an individual's transition: medical, legal, and social. The gender marker in DEERS is an example of the legal pillar, whereas use of pronouns is an example of the social pillar. The Navy's zero tolerance on harassment and bullying policy would be more effective if the language in the instruction empowered those at risk of being victims of gender discrimination by allowing them to affirm their gender identity through pronouns in the workplace. As for the use of pronouns on official documents, the Navy should afford transgender individuals the right to be identified with pronouns they identify with, as the Navy should recognize an individual who is pursuing gender transition will likely have different pronouns at some point in their military career. A proactive acknowledgement of transgender individuals through the use of their desired pronouns alongside empowering language in the instructions will ultimately ease the transgender individual's ability to socially align their gender and alleviate a significant source of aggravation for their gender dysphoria and serve as a powerful demonstration of the Navy's dedication to its sailors' well-being. I think I can kind of scroll through and just skip over the next part because that has to do with my separation that I don't think I'm ready for. But you can see it. And I'll link to a little Google Drive thing that'll have all these documents in there with the instructions, and I'm going to try and keep it all for you. So I closed out. I appreciate your consideration of these issues. I experienced each one to some extent prior to my separation, so I wanted to bring them up in the hopes that future transgender service members wouldn't have a similar experience. I recall meeting you after a Q&A. We only shared a high five because you were short for time, and I was requested to send this email. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments. Thank you so much for your time. Very respectfully, Chloe Nolan. And I received a response. And I apologize if this person doesn't want to be named as the person that replied for the MCPON's office. The MCPON is essentially the top enlisted Navy personnel. The only reason I'm even including it is because this is more for documentation purposes rather than for anything else. But this email that I had sent on behalf of myself to the Navy was acknowledged by the MCPON's office with the following email. Good morning. Thank you for reaching out to the Office of the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy with your concerns. We appreciate you sharing and have passed on your recommendations to the appropriate policymakers for consideration. But rest assured that MCPON will continue to advocate for all warfighters on our teams. Thank you again. Very respectfully, Command Master Chief. And that was an exciting moment for me. I felt as if I had made a difference because I got a reply. And I'll put up the sort of piece of the next instruction to release, and that'll be included in the little Google Drive. But I just wanted to share, when I put things into these videos and talk about myself and put it out there, the reason is because I don't think I hear anyone saying the things I'm saying. And sometimes that's frustrating because maybe people just don't see how I see the world. Or the world I see that we could be in. The good of the world. There's a lot of beauty out there. I mean, holy cannoli, I feel like I fall in love with every stranger I meet. It's like that eternal sunshine of a spotless mind. To be honest, Joel's riding on the train and like Clementine and him lock eyes. But sometimes I guess I'm not as much Joel as I am Clementine from that, in that the movie explores her being erased from Joel. Anyway, don't worry about it. It's all good. I just wanted to share that because, again, things are getting erased right now, and I'm a little bit frustrated about it, but I really am thankful that I have this YouTube channel to kind of share my experiences and let you all kind of hang out here, and we all just have a good time. So if you're still here, I want to let you know the 3 rules as outlined for the part-time revolution are: be kind to others, be kind to yourself, and avoid doing nothing. And I think if we can all manage to do that, the world will be a little bit better. I'm doing my part, and I hope you're doing yours. So being here helps me quite a bit, and I'm super stoked to have you. It's incredible. I went for almost 2 years nearly not talking about those experiences, and being here, and even though I'm just talking to you, and in this instance, you may be a camera, you may be you on the other side of the video, I am ecstatic that you're here, and I'm ecstatic that I'm able to provide some value to you, because I love what I do, and right now all I do is work, go to school, and play Dark Souls. So we're having a tournament coming up. I have an announcement coming out tomorrow. I'm looking forward to seeing you all there. Thank you for joining me. Have a good one. Bye. Someone who came out as trans after receiving the COVID vaccine and was removed from the military as a result, I believe the rights I stood up to defend are worth defending. Each new mountain is a new opportunity to grow. Thanks a lot, bud. Now I have to spoil it. No longer am I a proud American, so I'm a little bit of a fun person to be around. Being something more than an animal whose intelligence is limited by circumstances of birth. There are some things I have to do for my safety. Miss me with your gay shit, Mr. Trump.